yodelers. Yodeler Peter here. This week, we are going to be going back in time, back to August 8th, 2021, when we released this special episode that we all love for Jim Henson and the Muppets. Please enjoy. It's the Matterhorn Yodelers with our very special topic, the Muppets! Yay!
It's time to play the yodelers. It's time to hear these guys. It's time to meet the yodelers on Matterhorn tonight.
It's time to put on headphones. It's time to set the mics. It's time to start the podcast on Matterhorn tonight.
Why do we always listen?
I guess we'll never know.
They never seem to yodel
In any of the shows. But now let's get things started.
Why don't you get things started?
It's time to get started on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, motivational. It is what we call the Matterhorn Yodelers.
Hello, yodelers! Sorry. Yes, we are the Matterhorn Yodelers. I am your host today, Peter, with my co-hosts,
Jackie.
and...
Japheth.
And as you couldn't already tell by my very bad impression, we're going to be talking about the Muppets! Yay! I came up with this idea for doing this episode because I feel recently the Muppets don't get the deserved props that they deserve. They don't get as much of attention as they used to, and I think they should deserve they deserve more than what they're currently getting.
It's tough in this company.
Yeah,
You've got Marvel.
you got Marvel, you got
I think it's
Lucas.
Star Wars.
It's overwhelming.
It's true. I was on Disney Plus and I was like, "There's no Muppet section."
No, there's no Muppet tab. You have to type in Muppet.
Yep. So I just thought it would be good to go over a bit of the history of the Muppets, about their origins, and all the way up to where they're at today. And hopefully maybe some future projects that we can look forward to, because the Muppets have become a staple of American entertainment, or the worldwide entertainment.
It's a worldwide.
It's definitely something I was kind of excited to go into, and I learned a lot, and there were definitely moments in my research and that I was crying like a baby, which
When I was listening, I did a lot of homework. I was like, okay, we're gonna talk about the Muppets. Let me read a book about Jim Henson. So I got a biography, an audio biography. It's 21 hours, and I plowed through it in 2 days. I was very fortunate at work where I could listen and work, and we got to the end, the death, and I just cried.
Right. I listened to some of his, and I'll probably talk a little bit later about his memorial service.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I was listening to Big Bird singing Being Green.
Yeah.
That was just, I was just like, oh, and he goes, thanks, Kermit. That was just like, oh, I was losing it. I was taking my notes and I'm crying. I'm
if you want to have a very beautiful, heartfelt, memorial service, in planning your life, look at Jim Henson's, because that was just a room filled with people that just loved him.
Yes.
And so, that's what I said. It's good to hear that you had the same response I did. You spend 2 days listening about this guy's life and just how great he is and what he's done, and then just to come to the end, you're just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It just hits you.
For sure. So, we're going to start things off with the man himself, James Henry Henson, born in September of 1936. He was a kid at this time, and he was fascinated with television. He grew up watching a lot of Walt Disney's the Walt Disney TV shows and things like that, and that really inspired him to want to be in that form of entertainment. So he actually started a little mini show called Sam and Friends. That started back in 1955. It was just on his local channel. It was like a little 5-minute show that took place right before the evening news, which was right before the Tonight Show in Maryland. They didn't really get an idea of what their ratings were until the station tried to cancel the show. They tried canceling the show, and they got thousands upon thousands of letters demanding that Sam and Friends come back. And so it was brought back. It was even brought in after the news at one point. They kept moving it around.
Yeah, the evening news before the late night show.
Yes.
It was always this in-between for that. And it's really hard to, like, where do we put this puppet show?
Right, exactly. And, like, it was just, everyone really enjoyed it. And there were a variety of different characters, including a very familiar lizard named Kermit. And that's right, I said lizard because that's what he was classified as, was a lizard.
It wasn't a frog.
That's crazy.
It's weird looking at him. I feel like it's Kermit, but it's not Kermit.
Yeah, he was classified as a lizard, which you can look at it and go, yeah, I can see that. You know, I can see where they're getting lizard from. And there were a variety of other characters, none of which really made it too far out of that show, but that was the most notable one.
I mean, he got successful. He was doing this when he was before he
high
was in
school.
college.
Yeah, he was in high school.
Wow.
So it was like a competition, or like they wanted a show where it was a kid show, and they wanted kids to puppeteer. Well, they did a couple shows, and they got canceled because the kids were underage. There were child worker laws, but he got to stay on because they were impressed with them.
Yes.
And he, like you said, he was trying to get in here, and he had no experience doing puppets.
Nope.
And so he got 2 books from the library, and he learned how to do puppeteering from these 2 books just because he wanted to be on television.
Right.
So it wasn't originally like, I'm good at Muppets, I'm going to...
Nope.
No, it's like, I want to get on TV, and this is what I do.
Yep.
And he was so successful with this before he go to college, he had enough money to buy a brand new, like, Thunderbird.
Yeah.
Like, car. So, I mean, guy was doing really well.
It was quite successful show. It even got to the point where the host of the Tonight Show was down in Maryland, and he saw the show, and so he invited him on. So he, you know, a high school kid, or maybe just out of high school, I'm not sure on the exact date on when he did the Tonight Show. He gets and does a little bit on the Tonight Show a couple times. So, like, that's crazy. And that went on till from 1955 to 1961 that went on. In 1958, that's when he created Muppets, Inc., which later became...
He did do it with his wife.
Yes.
Jane...
He met his wife in the process.
Yes, and they became partners.
Yes.
They were like 50-50 split with this. And so, you know, they did the puppets together, and they met in college, but, like, this is where they kind of making a handshake agreement, like, hey, let's start this company. And so they were in it together, and so there was, you know, grew his company. She was there with them, growing with them.
It was definitely like a big like family business.
Of course. Yeah, definitely. The Muppets, or the puppets, grew from this family growing up. So it's very interesting.
Oh, yes. And it's so funny because people they debate, you know, the origins of the name Muppet. Some say it's the combination of puppet and marionette. Jim Henson just came out and said, no, it's just a word I made up.
Yeah, I think it's great.
So like, he did that for a while, and eventually, you know, he wanted to move on, and so he was looking for new horizons, and he made a deal. He did a lot of commercials during this time period.
His success came from those commercials.
Yes, like that's where he started getting a lot more notoriety nationwide. The funny one would be for Wilkins Coffee.
That's it. Yeah.
That's the big one. Like, and you watch some of those commercials, and they would not pass today's standards.
Well, they're shooting each other and blowing
Yes.
each other up. Like,
yeah, and like, it's about these 2 characters. One's like asking if they have Wilkins coffee or not. And he's like, no, I don't. And he ends up like shooting with a cannonball or a gun or something like that.
it blows him up.
And then then the character would turn to you, almost like threatening you if you don't have the thing. Like, it was dark humor, but it it worked.
It was groundbreaking, I think, for the time period where it got your attention, and nobody knew this coffee brand. And once he started blowing up other Muppets, everyone's all like, they saw the success and they're like, we want that guy.
Right.
And it just snowballed
And it
into
turned into
success for him.
merchandising. Like, these characters were extremely popular.
You got Ralph. Ralph comes out of it from these commercials.
Yes, he does. So what we get into further on, he meets up with Frank Oz in 1963. Frank Oz, for those who are Star Wars fans, probably know who Frank Oz is. He is Yoda. So, there's a big connection there. And Frank Oz and Jim Henson were like great teams. Like, you look at the history, and like some of the best gags and skits were always with them two bantering with each other. Famous ones, for example, Sesame Street. You got Bert and Ernie. Like, that relationship was Jim and Frank.
Yeah, Bert. Which one's Bert? Bert is the
is Frank.
It's Frank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, their personalities are displayed there.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, they're different, but they were, they
were
work
a great
well
team.
together.
They were a great team, as well as Kermit and Fozzie Bear.
Yeah.
As well as Miss Piggy, if you want to throw Miss Piggy and Kermit as well. Like, those two they had like the magic touch in any scene. Like, their scenes were always the most popular skits going forward. So throughout this time period in the 60s, they were just doing a lot of commercials. They did a lot of experimental film where Jim Henson. Changing subjects here.
Easy to confuse.
Right. Jim Henson released a short film called Timepiece, which won him his first, I believe it was his first Academy Award as a short live-action film.
Very experimental,
yes.
Especially for the time. Jim, he was always looking to the horizon. He wasn't like, I'm just going to do what works for me. He's like, what's next? What's next? And like, this timepiece was that, like, what's next?
Oh, yeah. And you can definitely draw a connection to Walt Disney because he did the same thing. Like, it was always the next thing. He didn't always dwell on and stay put as to what he was being successful at. He always looked to the next thing. Jim Henson was the same
he wasn't
thought.
content with what had worked before. He was like, well, that's been done before. Why am I going to do it again?
Right.
It's just going to get old, and then you get old.
Correct. So then this leads us into 1969, where the Children's Television Workshop see Jim Henson and the work that he's done, and they're really interested in his work. So they want him.
Got a frog in your throat?
I got a frog in my throat. So they want him to have his own television show for kids, a learning show, because they were really impressed with his puppetry work and all that stuff through his commercials and his shows and things like that. So that's when Sesame Street comes around.
Yeah, and the thing is with him, with Sesame Street, it was just like kind of a side job.
Yeah.
He didn't really want to be like classified as like a kid show person.
And that was the stigma he was afraid of.
Oh, he always fought the stigma of like the Muppets or this. He just didn't want to be pigeonholed and stuck somewhere. He needed to grow. And with Sesame Street, like in his journal, he wrote like, he just named it like the acronym of like the company show. Like he didn't even go like, we're doing Sesame Street, this is great. Like,
which is funny because Sesame Street is like,
it was his money
very
maker.
successful.
He made all his money on merchandise.
Yeah, like that was the way. Basically, the Sesame Street was the thing that allowed him to do the Muppet Show going forward. So he did that for many years. It allowed him to stop having to do commercials.
Yeah.
So he could start focusing on the next phase, which we get into the 70s. You know, obviously Sesame Street.
You don't want to talk about his psychedelic club he wanted to start up?
No, we're not going to talk about that. But we get into the 70s. We got Jim wanting to go for more adult humor. So he joins SNL. and was with them on their.
I think it's the first year.
Just the first year.
They hated him.
Yeah, the writers hated it. They didn't want to write for.
Was he on SNL as a writer?
No.
No. So the thing is, the Muppets were there, but the writers wrote it, and it just didn't go well.
Yeah.
And so
The writers didn't like writing for
Jim
the
Belushi
Muppets.
had a saying, and I'm trying not to like butcher it. He goes, "Oh, the fuppet." Yeah, I can't even say it. I'm afraid I'm gonna butcher it, but like, let's just say he switched letters around because they hated the Muppets there. They weren't wanted, but what is it? Michaels, the creator of SNL.
Yes.
He loved them.
Yeah.
He loved the creativeness of them and just loved what Jim and Frank and others could bring to life with these characters and these like transitional phases. I consider them like almost like the SNL shorts, like something without something that didn't require the comedians, but the comedians hated them because it took away from their airtime.
Right.
And
Right.
it's kind of notorious like how cutthroat SNL can be with like writing and comedians trying to get their skits out, and then you have these Muppets,
This little puppet show.
little puppet show,
Which probably to
eating
them,
up their time.
they're like, this is just a kid thing.
Yeah,
Right.
and so it just was not a good fit, but exposure.
Yes, it gave them a lot of exposure to the point where when they kind of broke away from SNL, they started working on some Muppet shorts. So these Muppet special series, and there were two of them that were made. There was the Muppet Valentine Show and Muppets Sex and Violence.
Oh yeah, which had no sex.
No, there was no sex.
Their oldest daughter was like, "Where's the sex?" She's like 14 at the time. She's like, "There's no sex in this, Dad."
So, like, in there, you get introduced to a lot of the Muppets that we know today. You get the Electric Mayhem Band. You get, Stanley Wardorf. I butchered his name. You just get a lot of these now famous Muppet characters that we see today. Even Kermit the Frog, he didn't even play a major role in these films to begin with. They were very minor. The Valentine's one, you saw a little bit more from him. He had a love interest with, I think it was Miss Mousy, something like that.
Yeah, Miss Piggy wasn't around.
Nope,
yet.
not yet. And so they kind of use this as like a way to try to pitch to bring the Muppets to have their own TV show, not necessarily a kids show, but a show for everyone.
A variety show.
Yes.
Those were huge in the 70s.
Yes.
These variety shows, and the Muppets would have been, would have been good for this. And he pitched this for like, let alone a decade, trying to get a television show, because that was what he wanted to do. He wanted to be on television, just not advertisements. And so it was like that transition. But what really helped him get over there was getting the merchandise money from Sesame Street, because it just allowed him no more commercials. And the thing is, Jim owned his Muppets, his puppets.
Yes.
He never sold the rights. Like Frito-Lay's wanted him, which was like the character for Cookie Monster, the Predators. And he's like, no, I own it. I don't sell what I own.
I've created.
It's just it's mine. And so with that, it helped him with merchandising and to like lead to the show. And like, because if he had sold off Kermit and all this, he wouldn't have had anything. He would have had like Walt without like with the rabbit.
Right.
Yeah. Oswald.
Oswald.
Like that would have, if we wouldn't have Mickey Mouse if Walt didn't sell it. And so I don't know if Jim had learned from that, or he was just like, no, this is mine. I don't sell what's mine.
I think that's what I think he had grown an attachment to his creations, and it was like part of his family. So he was trying to work out how a show would work with the Muppets, and so they kind of took what worked for both of these specials. One had more of like a plot, whereas the other one was more of a variety show, and so they found a way to like best of both worlds situation, and that's where you get the Muppet Show, which no one in the U.S., none of the American broadcast companies, like none of them wanted anything to do with this show. So they get a call that they want to make the show over in England.
Yeah, he moves to London.
He moves to London to make the Muppet Show. There was, and it was a hard sell. They found a lot of difficulty on trying to find celebrities to guest host, but one of the things that they contribute to the success of the show is how they handled the celebrities that they did have on the show. They gave, for example, like whenever these celebrities would have to do these variety shows, they were basically told, you're doing this, you're doing that, whereas Jim Henson and the writers and things like that went to the celebrities and said, what do you want to do? Do you want to sing? Do you want to dance? Do you want to do comedy? Like, what do you want to do? And they revolved it around what the celebrities wanted to do, which then paved the way for all of these celebrities wanting to, instead of them going out looking for celebrities, the celebrities came to them wanting to work.
And they
with
didn't
them.
have to pitch.
Correct.
They could be like, I'm going to sell my product that I want to sell. I'm not pitching what the movie studio or the record company wants me to push. This is my chance to have my creative, juices shown.
And I think that just shows like the difference between Muppets back then and when it originally started and today.
Oh yeah.
And we'll get into that later.
For sure. So like the Muppet Show, it was a huge success in England to the point where like they talked about how like members of Parliament would meet up early just so that they can talk about what happened the night before on the Muppet Show.
It's fun.
That's fun.
And the amount of countries that it went global.
Right. As soon as, I think they said basically the third season of the Muppet Show was when things just took off. A little fun story about Kermit the Frog. Basically, during the Sesame Street age, so before the Muppet Show, Kermit the Frog wasn't necessarily as popular because he was seen as so negative and kind of a bully. And so that's why they kind of struggled. He didn't really have a big part when they did the Muppet specials, but then when they were trying to figure out who should be like the face of the Muppet Show, they realized it was going to be Kermit because he was going to be... They found a way to tie his personality into a specific role that made it work. And that's why he's that guy backstage trying to put this show together. Crazy group of Muppets that like were chaotic. You had cows flying everywhere. You gotta imagine
Gonzo's act with
Right.
cannibals
Yes.
and chickens.
and Fozzie Bear annoying the heck out of you, or Miss Piggy begging for screen time. You've got this manager who's stressing out just trying to get the show together, and it just worked with Kermit's personality perfectly, which catapulted him as like the face of the Muppets.
Mm-hmm.
So like just very well like writing in terms of how Jim Henson was able to develop Kermit's character into something positive instead of being pessimistic or negative. So that was definitely a positive that came out of the Muppet Show. We got the Kermit that we know today. And it actually took a while for a lot of the characters that we do know today to grow into who and how we know them today. Like Miss Piggy had several different voices at one point. Miss Piggy was just meant to be a background Muppet for a while until she became this
Like sassy
diva that's wanting more attention than the celebrity guest host.
Yeah.
Like that, the whole hey
Oh, I love the karate
like
chops.
that, the karate chop noise, like her. That's basically what made Miss Piggy. Fozzie Bear, at first he was kind of like this. He had a deeper voice that just really wasn't working, but they made his voice a little higher pitched and to make him more friendlier and happier, and it just you got to see this. So if you go back and watch the Muppet series from season 1 and you go through it all, you see that progression of these characters and how they grow.
I watched a couple episodes. It was hard for me.
Yeah.
It's a different humor.
It is.
Humor evolves. It's like watching SNL from like the 80s and you're just like, man, these skits are really bad. And then like, oh yeah, you got the Adam Sandler period and you're like, oh, some of these skits are not really good. And
Right.
Like, so like our comedy evolves, and so I do this disclaimer. It's like when watching the old Muppets, remember this is a point in time when the humor is
Yes.
quite different, and comedy was still relatively in its infancy.
And honestly, one of the things I feel that put the Muppets on the map was the music.
Mm-hmm.
Like the songs that they would release on their shows would end up becoming like top performing songs that they would play on radios and things like that, like
gold and platinum records, and that's where he
Yeah.
made his roots with the Muppets were lip syncing, or basically lip syncing with the puppets these popular songs,
Yeah.
and that's what really got Jim. So he went to his bread and butter, his
Right.
foundation with these Muppets.
Like his first hit was with Kermit the Frog, being green. It's not easy being green on the Sesame Street, and like that just like catapulted it, and like I think he came to the realization the same thing that Walt Disney did with, he's like, music is an integral part of this, and if you're going to survive, you need to have music. Like, I was just talking to my dad about this, and he goes, yeah, like, if you don't have somebody leaving the show or your movie theater without singing a song, your movie will be forgotten. And I agree with that. Like, your movie will most likely be forgotten if you're leaving not thinking about the music, because the music will keep your attention on the product. That's why movies like Mary Poppins are so successful. Even Star Wars.
Frozen.
Brother Bear. Oh wait. Oh, never mind.
Hey, but they still use that music in the theme parks. So,
Yep.
like, music is the integral part of all this entertainment. So then we get into the next part. So the Muppets lasted about 5 seasons.
He ended it
on a high.
I want syndication. I want to make the money back from that, but I don't want to get stuck. Leave on a high, like you said.
Correct. Oh, and there is a funny note about the Star Wars special, about how they got all these characters from Star Wars on the Muppet Show. So basically, they were filming Empire Strikes Back down the road.
Across the street.
Just right across the street.
Oh yeah, he would hang out with George.
Yeah, well, and they had someone on the end. They had Frank Oz playing Yoda. So they had that connection, and they're like, hey, Mark, you want to come over and do a thing? And you saw Mark Hamill dressed up in his clothes that he wore for Empire Strikes Back, which was the first little inkling people actually got.
They're
for
like,
Empire
wait a
Strikes
second.
Back. Yeah, he wasn't wearing his costume that he wore for A New Hope. He was wearing his Empire Strikes Back clothes.
He started waving his hand, because that's all he's got. He's waving his arms, but he only had one hand. They're like, wait a second. I thought you had a right hand there.
And so, like, it's just fun that, like, that through their connections, they were able to bring all that in.
Him and Jim and George hit it off.
Oh, they did.
They became
did several
friends,
projects
and
together.
they saw, just like George admired the creativity that he exuded, just like how he's talking, his passion, his work ethic, and just like was blown away with his craft. And it just was mutual. Like these people, like two people going, oh yeah, we've got vision, we've got this bigger picture, and the creative juices were just flowing between the two. And so it wasn't long for these guys, were friends.
For sure. And so now we're getting into that age of the Muppets where they're doing films. So 1979, they're working on the Muppet movie. Jim asked for $8 million, and it was a hard sell. Like, they did not really want to do this.
Oh yeah.
They didn't
It's a
quite
lot of money.
they didn't quite believe in this project. And then when they made the movie, and it's actually during this movie that actually Jim actually grows a connection with Kermit. That's like when he truly feels like Kermit and Jim have become one, their personalities.
Or Jim's personality, which he never got angry.
Yeah.
He kind of avoided conflict, but he would use Kermit as a vehicle to express some of his personality more than what he could do himself.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting that. So then they created the Muppet movie, which you can actually see like their test footage of making the Muppets outside of a theater, and it's kind of funny. He's got Kermit talking to a cow, and the cow's like basically trying to eat him. It's kind of funny. But they sell the idea of like, this is the Muppet origin movie, and and even at the end of the movie, like Jim Henson gives thanks to his fans. Like the last song where they're singing the Rainbow Connection, he changes the words, basically saying thank you. If it wasn't for you guys, our audience, like, we wouldn't be here.
It's a beautiful song.
It's
It
so
is.
sweet.
Rainbow Connection, again, great song. Still, people still sing it today.
Yep.
So, as I said, the budget was $8 million. It made $65.2 million.
It was huge.
It was huge.
And I understand where the producers are like, or the movie companies are like, I don't know. Imagine taking a YouTube video and like, yeah, we got all the success on YouTube. Let's make it into a movie. You'd be like, it's not that good. Right? Like, think of a YouTuber that you think like, I want to watch them for 2.5 hours.
There have been YouTubers that have made movies that don't do well.
Yes,
Right.
for
so
sure.
like, just take the small little segment and make it.
It was a risky move from a business point of view.
And Jim wasn't very good at selling it. He always like, I've got these things, and we're gonna do
Oh,
this.
yeah.
It was just he wasn't a story like board, but he's like, I've got these characters. Like he used his production to sell a story instead of
Right.
the story selling itself.
For
and
sure.
that's why I could see these like movie companies are just like, I don't know, like you've got the passion, but I don't know.
It was a risk, for
Yes,
sure.
these guys definitely took risks.
And basically, after the Muppet movie, that's basically, like, that's when it was established that this is a valuable, like, process going forward, which led them down the direction of working a lot with George Lucas. You know, you got The Dark Crystal, you got Labyrinth, you got several other projects that came about. Again, The Muppet Show, he stopped the show because he wanted to end it on a high. But towards the end of his career, turn my page. You know, like, he was working on other projects like Fraggle Rock, that TV show that kind of took off.
That was huge.
It was huge.
I had never heard about Fraggle Rock, but it opened up, like, it was the first show that made it into the Soviet bloc.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Yes.
that.
Oh, really?
Okay.
And it was hugely popular there. It's amazing. Like, I never heard of this, but it was one of those, like, it was one of those first, like, I don't want to say the first, but it was one of the first shows that made it across into the Soviet bloc countries, and it was very popular. And so he would get letters from them, and so it was just, he felt like he was opening the world up in a time when everything was like, you're this or you're that.
Right.
And so he felt like he was doing a lot of good with it.
So, and, you know, and that show had great success. They did an animated show, The Muppet Babies, which you still talk to many kids in the 90s or in the 80s and 90s that still look back on the Muppet Babies with great admiration. And then he had another show, The Storyteller, which was more...
It didn't do so well.
It didn't do so well. It was like more adult stories with, you know, unique...
I think he spent
looking
$1 million
Muppets.
on just the intro, and everyone's like, oh boy, that's a lot of money
Right.
for an intro.
Right. And so his final show he was working on was a Jim Henson Hour show, which was a combination of everything at that point. So he tried pitching it. He pitched it to NBC as several different things. He says, you can choose what options are you looking for? Because Jim Henson was kind of looking for the same sort of show that like Walt Disney had, The Wonderful World of Color, Wonderful World of Disney, where like, you know, Jim Henson would introduce the show. They would have a couple little sketches, and then they would show.
So they would take some of the Storyteller show that
Yes.
didn't do so well, and so you would get a variety.
Yes.
You wouldn't get one thing, and he didn't get the slot that he wanted. It was doomed.
Correct.
It was hard on him.
And eventually, you know, that show failed. It didn't do so well. And so that's when he went to, and we'll go into more detail about this in a moment, but it's when he started working with Disney. They wanted to build a Muppet-themed land.
Yep.
Not just an attraction, a land with several attractions over at the Disney MGM Studios. And
Which was just opening in 89.
89,
right?
correct. So, so there were a couple projects that we actually do get to see, but there were others that we never got to see. There was the Great Muppet Movie Ride, which was kind of a spoof on the Great Movie Ride, where the Muppets kind of, and that was, you know, one of those dreams that a lot of people like wish they got to see come to fruition. That was one of the projects that Jim Henson was like heavily invested in and wanting to make that one a reality. then we had, the one that's still around today. We have Muppets Vision 3D, which is considered basically the last thing that Jim worked on.
It's the Country Bear Jamboree.
It's-
No, it's not the last. Like, I'm sure he had other things that he was working with, with production, but he was involved in this creation.
Correct. He was part of the directing process. Like, he filmed some of it. Like it is one of the last remnants of Jim Henson's works that you can still see today in the theme parks.
Yeah.
There was a stage show. I forgot what it was called. Over there where the Little Mermaid show is. There was a little Muppet show there where it was funny because the monorail crashes in and Electric Mayhem march out. It's kind of silly.
Fun.
But this led into, with him traveling a lot. He was, going all over the place.
His work ethic was amazing.
Yes.
He always worked, and unfortunately, it put a strain between his wife and him.
Yes, it did.
And they separated, but he always was a family man. His children loved him, and you know that because his kids got in the business.
They did.
Yes.
They all got in the business of it because they knew, well, if I want to spend time with Dad, I got to do with what he likes, and because he just had that push forward, work really hard, and you'll get, I had a quote. I think I wrote it down. The only way magic works is by hard work. Mm-hmm. And that's what he was doing. He was creating magic, and so it was one of those. Yeah, he worked hard, and so it put stress on you.
It put a lot of stress on him, and eventually he got sick. He got pneumonia, and he passed away on May 29th, 1990. As I was stating earlier, I was bawling like a baby watching the memorial service. Like, there was a part where they had a shot. They did a whole Muppet scene, of them Muppets backstage learning about Jim Henson, and then they reveal that Jim Henson had died, and all the Muppets were like, "Oh, but we just started to get to know you."
Yeah.
And it was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is so sad." I was losing it. I'm losing it now, just reminiscing it.
The service was great because they opened it up to the public.
Yes.
Yeah.
They got the St. John's Cathedral in New York, and it was filled to the gills. You had George Lucas was there.
Yeah.
Eisner was there. He was the old CEO of Disney Company. I mean, there was the people he touched, and everyone loved working with them.
Yeah.
No one ever said "Oh, Jim's a diva." Blah. No, everyone loved him, and so it was a hard loss.
It was, and it's so funny because if you jump ahead to, I guess I can't say recent anymore, but there was a YouTube series called Epic Rap Battles of History. They did Stan Lee versus Jim Henson, and it's actually the only one where I feel because normally it's the two different sides battling out as who's better, and they're ripping on each other, and it does start that way, but it ends with both of them it really ends with Stanley saying missing you, you shouldn't have left as soon as you did.
He was 53.
Yeah.
It's so young. And it was sad is because the little story with how he died, it was strep throat. And the bacteria got into his lungs. He waited till he was coughing up blood, and he was like, "I'll just take some aspirin, I'll just rest." And his family was with him, and it got to the point where he just couldn't breathe anymore. And then they took him to the hospital, and they're going, at that point where he was coughing up blood, they said if they'd taken him to the hospital, give him antibiotics, he would have been alive. But by the time he got there, he even insisted when he was leaving as a perm, no, I'll walk myself to the car, and they're like, "Oh, wheelchair." He's like, "No, I'll be okay." He was always that calm demeanor. It's always came down to problem solving. Was just "Oh, okay, we got a problem, let's work on it." He never got mad, and last thing he said was "Well, I'll see you." That's what it was. So it was hard for me to listen to his death and then listen to all the beautiful things he had to say, or people had to say about him. It was just, he was a beautiful man. And so it's still boy, I don't even get that emotional, but it was a man of love. He loved human beings, and so it was really hard just to hear him to leave so soon. So yeah, it's hard for me to express like what he's done and what he did. No, it was just good. So boy, wasn't expecting this today.
We're all crying. Oh.
But so is this my part where I take over?
This is your part now.
Usually the part where we cry is at the
At the
end. So
No, we'll just end with anger. That's
Yeah.
how
just,
it's
yeah. Like, why did you do to our beloved thing? So yes, beautiful man just did just expressed so much love. Like Peter said, the Disney company, Jim reached out to the Disney company. I think it was like 2 years before, and Michael Eisner, and this is when Eisner was trying to get the creative juices for Disney going. They didn't have a lot going. This is before Little Mermaid. So you got this 80s, like, hey, we're trying to get products. We're trying to get known again. You just had Black Cauldron come out. Like, there was an identity crisis with animation and creativity. And Jim just exuded creativity. And Jim was getting to a point where he was becoming the businessman and not the creative man. And we discussed this with like Walt, where there's a transition where Walt's no longer the animator and involved in storytelling. So you can see with Alice in Wonderland. Like he saw Alice in Wonderland, Walt saw Alice in Wonderland and was just like, I should have been there for this.
Right.
But I couldn't. I have too much on my plate. And that's what was going on with Jim. He had more fun in the creativity shop than he did with dealing with lawyers and business people and like trying to make deals here and there, because he loved his family, the Muppet performers. He didn't like Muppeteer. He hated the term Muppeteer. He's like, no, they're Muppet performers or Muppet entertainers. I can't remember either, but they weren't Muppeteers. And so he's like, I'm going to reach out to Disney. Disney does a good job in preserving things. He loved the Disney parks. He loved them. He goes to the parks and with his family. He loved Epcot.
He saw the work of the Imagineers. That was a great inspiration for him as well. Like just to see the creativity and the wonderful things that they would do, that would shock anyone, at that time period in terms of like how to do a theme park.
Animatronics and like just when you see Kermit moving on a bike and stuff, like it wasn't just one person with a hand up the back of the puppet. It was like he was inventing things, and so he had different companies for that creativity. And so I mean he was going to bring a level of creativity and different realms of entertainment, and Disney was like, oh yeah, we want this guy to kind of lead us in this new awakening for Disney, because they didn't know what was going to happen. The company was really shaky grounds when Michael Eisner took over. And Michael knew Jim prior because he was an executive at ABC, and Jim was he just knew everybody because he was making deals with all sorts. And so the deal was going through. Jim was working with the Imagineers, and that's where you get the rides. The Imagineers are like, this is great. This is good here. And like they loved him. They loved seeing when he went into the park, and he's like, oh, we can do this and that. And he was a breath of fresh air. It was like second coming of like Walt in a way of just like the creative juices where his group of people followed him. Like they just loved him. They believed in his vision and they went forward. Jim he came at it a more of like family love. Walt came at it as like the fatherly figure. Jim wasn't that. He was more of like, let me, show compassion and care for you, and we'll work through this. And Walt's all like, figure it out, like doing this and like my way, get in line or get off, And so you see the difference, as I was listening to his biography and like, what I know about Walt. I don't know Walt for all the interviews and stuff. There was a difference, but like the way and going towards a dream, very similar.
Yes.
And a lot of people saw that. You're only dealing with 20 years post Walt by this time. And there's still remnants of people like, oh yeah, here we got a breath of fresh air. We're gonna get money and like, creativity like brings in people wanting to invest. And Jim was gonna do that and especially with MGM, where you're like, okay, we're gonna have this park about movies.
Yep.
Okay, all right,
It's
how do we
very
do
vague,
this?
yeah.
And like, what better way is the Muppets, where they basically have a movie about making movies and stuff like that. And so they were interested. What was killing it was the lawyers and the negotiations. It got to the point where the Disney negotiators were very cutthroat. To where they're asking for the elevators to the buildings that they worked in. Like, what are the maintenance logs to this? They wanted to bog you down to the point where, like, I give up. Let's just go forward. And it also was Sesame Street.
It was Sesame Street. I was
That
about
was
to
huge.
say, like, 'cause-
they thought they could bleed you to death and then go like, how about now I want
yeah.
Sesame Street.
So like Jim Henson did not want the Sesame Street to be owned by a private company.
No, he wanted it to be public.
Yeah, that was like one of his like that was his like line that you don't cross that line. Is that you don't touch Sesame Street.
That's for kids and that's for and I understand that was good, but Jim just wanted a place to play. He wanted his sandbox. He wanted to create, and he knew Disney was going to be the vehicle. Yeah, he knew he was going to give up some rights. It was getting to the point where he was all like, nope, now you're changing it again. Like, he pulled back, and so there's push-pull. And, like, 2 weeks before he died, he even told his lawyers, like, hey, we need to finish this. We need to get this done. We're starting to integrate too much, where most people, they wait to start doing projects. Like, Jim was already doing projects for them. You have MGM, and he's like, no, this needs to be finalized. This is too ambiguous. And unfortunately, Jim dies. He wills it. He had a beautiful letter he wrote to his kids.
Yeah.
He was sitting in a cathedral, and I think he was in France, and he was just like, well, I'm here in this beautiful place. I'll write you this letter. And basically, he if you have a chance, look it up or listen to it. It's beautiful. But he gives his kids the company. And his kids, you think like, oh, great, here come the kids. Families know how to ruin things. Like, you look at the Walt Disney Company. It went to a family member, and it may, they did well, riding the wave of what Disney had done, but eventually it caught up to them where it wasn't great. And you could sort of see some of that going on with this, but it ran to Brian, his son, and his daughter Lisa, who was actually an executive at Columbia and Universal. So she had experience in the entertainment business, and Brian and others kids learned the arts and stuff like that. And so, unfortunately, the deal with Disney falls through. Again, Disney they really wanted Jim. Jim was a huge aspect.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of like Disney going, okay, we need to renegotiate this. A second part, you have the kids who are reeling with the short loss of their father. I mean, the youngest is Heather, and I think she was born in 1971. So your dad dies when you're 20 years old. And towards the end of his life, he's super busy. And so, like, how much time do you really get? But Jim did make a point to be with his kids when he did. It wasn't like he was just that workhorse dad. And like, I saw dad, like how the Royals saw their kids.
Right.
So, but I mean, you're dealing with that. You have 500 kids. And then you also have what? The government comes in and they go, hey, you owe us money because you're dead. So, like, and all your kids get this, and so we get a portion of that. So you have to divvy up these assets. And so you have 5 different people, and Disney's like, well, and I don't know when we can do this. Or they start to become even harder with their negotiations, and the kids are like, we're not ready for this.
Yeah.
But since the Disney company was already involved, we're getting movies from them. They were going to get distributed through, was it Buena Vista?
Yeah.
And so we get all the 90s millennial kids know these movies. You get Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yep.
Best, in my opinion, the best Christmas Carol movie.
Yeah,
I agree.
Some of the, people that reviewed it didn't think so, but for kids, it opens you to Charles Dickens' stories.
Right.
And it's just like, oh, okay.
It made it less boring than like the other.
Than having Mr. Feeney read it to you in the Boy Meets World episode. Yeah, of course. No, I get it. It cost $12 million to produce. Box office 27.2. So it's bringing in money. Still. Then they do Muppet Treasure Island. Boy, we quote that movie all the time. I've got cabin fever!
I've got it too!
The opening sequence. Yeah. Shiver my timber, shiver my
music
bones.
Was great.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was fun. and unfortunately, when that movie came out, it didn't do as well. It basically broke even. It went against the movie Broken Arrow, which is an action film, and then Happy Gilmore, which was another great classic film in our family that's quoted way more than probably any other movie at the time. So it was both kid fun movies, and that was in '96. '96, you get also on ABC Muppets Tonight.
Oh, I love that show.
It was
It was
so
so great.
fun.
I still remember certain aspects. I remember the episode with Garth Brooks.
That's the one I was thinking of too.
Garth Brooks, where like you got like the producer being like, "You've got to get Garth Brooks to sing a country song," and so they, Garth Brooks, can you sing a country? Oh yeah, sure, I'll sing a country
Fiddler
song.
on the Roof.
He sings Fiddler. If I were a rich man. He's like,
Kicking the chickens. I love it.
and he's all like, "You said I thought you said he was gonna sing a country song." Yeah, but you didn't say which country. I love that. Or they had Seinfeld Babies. They had a little thing where they combined two shows, and Muppet Babies and Seinfeld, and that was hilarious. Like there were some good ones.
There was as the Muppets aspect, and like there are other things that Jim Henson Company was doing, but again, this is more about the Muppets.
The Muppets, yes.
And so the Muppet Tonight Show was from '96 to '98. It kind of fizzles out. Like you see
Yes.
the stars, and they kind of just dwindle to nothing. But I remember the host. Remember the host? It was Clifford.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about him, the Muppet. He had like kind of that catfish dreadlock look. It was purple, and I was like, oh yeah, Clifford. And then there was another staple in our house because of this, and it was a CD-ROM game called Muppets CD-ROM, and it came out in '96.
We
I
played
loved that
we
game.
played that game like so much. Like it was ridiculous.
I
want to
play it again just thinking about it.
I was thinking, like, can I play this on a modern computer? Like, can a computer from like a game from a Windows 95 play on a computer now with Windows 10
My
or
favorite
higher?
game was the Chef's Game, the Swedish
Oh,
Fish game.
it was, what was it called? It was called Kitchen of Doom.
Yes.
Based off of Swedish Chefs meets Doom, pretty much.
Yes.
Like,
I also enjoyed the
Beaker's Brain.
Beaker's Brain was good. I enjoyed
Because you do the
Beaker's Brain.
sequencing with the video.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Walk a Wild side, we're trying to, basically it was like Missile Command.
Oh,
where
yeah.
you're trying to protect Fozzie from
Tomatoes
and pies.
That was funny, yeah.
You have the Statler and Waldorf, like the old man going, oh, they have the two thumbs up where you unscramble the video and they play it. And then you have Gonzo's death-defying act
Oh, yeah.
where you try to balance off the different objects to get them
Angry
through the hoop.
Birds, basically.
Angry Birds. So, yeah, Angry Gonzo, pretty much, yeah. And then you have Clifford was Name That Tune.
Yes.
Where you had the songs.
Spinning wheel, got to go round. Yeah, I still remember that.
And you have Hollywood Squares. And like the whole objective was, it's almost like Tron, where the Muppets get sucked into the computer and they've got to do all these games. They've got to find all their friends to get out. What was it? They were, I wrote it down. The Muppets were digitized and Kermit and Fozzie were traveling on the bitmap on a data bus to save their friends. And so they play the mini games.
Yes.
And I don't think I ever completed it, but I was so satisfying to like, it was genius to the clips from the Muppet Show, like from the 70s, and turn into a game where you're exposing the past with the new and a good appreciation. So I thought it was really good and necessary to keep a brand or product moving
and all
forward.
considering like the amount of detail and effort that went into that game, like compared to other games during that time period.
Yeah.
Like that was
extensive.
It's an extensive game that like how much content they put in that game. Like you could play that game for a long time. Like we spent weeks without even beating it. You know?
I don't know if I ever beat it. But I
you never
enjoyed
saw
it.
the ending.
And there were some games you just couldn't beat, and so they like
Oh,
stayed
yeah.
kind of dark. It was like a hard Gonzo episode, like
The Gonzo ones would be kind of hard sometimes, yeah.
and then like the Fozzie ones too,
Oh, the Fozzie
because
ones.
they were just like bananas and everything, and you're just like click 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 click.
It's like I gotta play this on easy mode.
It was fun, and then
Yes.
I gotta do a shout out. The Muppets were before. Muppets were acquired by a Disney company. They were in the Weezer music video,
Oh, yes.
Keep Fishing, and it was kind of based off of like the Muppet Show, and Weezer's got to play a song, you know, and so I'm a big Weezer fan, and I love seeing them.
They even
on
did a
there.
rendition of the Muppet Show theme.
Yeah, for it, and you'll see, and they did like like kind of homage to like what Jim used to do with his original Muppets, where he did lip syncing, where they did Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh yeah.
That one is one of my favorite Muppet videos ever.
It's just great.
Mama.
Yeah,
Mama!
I do that with my daughter, where it's like, "Mama, I pooped again." Kind of just using that animal time period, but it's just. I enjoy listening to the Muppet version more than
I do too.
The original. Like Queen, I'm not knocking on Queen. I love the Queen song, but just it's the next level of like integrating two great things, and you get a beautiful product.
They did a really good job with it.
Yeah.
Like,
So
oh yeah.
I
mean, I even like the Swedish Chef when he's like, no, it's freaking needy. Like, I just love that.
it
It's
just comes out
great.
of like, oh, there's Swedish Chef, and
Yeah.
it just all comes together, and it's good. So that's kind of like that transitional period. As for the company and the acquisition, the Muppet Company was sold in the 90s to a German media company for like $500 million. I mean, it was huge. I mean, I think Disney was only offering like 120 for them. But this also included the rights to Sesame Street as well. Well, the German company basically collapsed in on itself, expanded too quickly, and so they sold off the rights to Sesame Street, which I think it was sold to like it went to the right people.
I think so.
I can't remember the name of the company, but it basically, I think they bought it and they're like, okay, we can keep the integrity of it without like corrupting it.
Yeah.
And Jim Henson's kids bought back the
they
Muppet
did.
Company for like $100 million. So they made a huge profit from that. Sell for $600 and then like, oh, I'll buy it back for $120. I'm like, okay, everyone gets $100 million of the kids. And so, and from there they were able to like they just didn't see the success. I mean, they came out and I didn't even mention it. Muppets from Space in '99.
That one didn't good.
It broke even, but that was distributed through Columbia, and it was different, and
it didn't have the same vibe.
Yeah, where Gonzo's trying to he finds his home.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Finds out what type of animal or what he is, and it just didn't do so well. So the company, like the Muppets, were in this waiting pool of like that post Jim Henson creativity, kind of see what you see with Disney, the parallel where like you're riding the high and then you get to the 70s and 80s, you're like, oh, we're not doing as great, and we're missing that like connection with the next generation. Like, we got connected, but then you're getting like the next like the younger millennials into that show, and so it's kind of different, going into it. And so this is where Disney comes in.
Yep, Disney acquired the rights of the Muppets and Bear in the Big Blue House characters. Do you remember that show?
Oh yeah, it was huge
back then. It
was
so big. I loved it. I don't have how much they purchased it for, but
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Jim didn't like numbers anyways.
Yeah.
That's right.
He hated talking money and business.
So they acquired it in 2004, and it's...
This was like one of Iger's, was it Iger?
Yes.
This was one of Iger's first major purchases for the Disney company.
Was this after Marvel or
no? It was before
Pixar.
Everything else.
Before Pixar.
Before Pixar.
Pixar was 2006.
Okay.
I think this is like Michael Eisner.
I think this might be end of
This is Michael Eisner's like last little bit to kind of save, like, riding the high of the golden age to like Brother Bear.
Right.
Home on the Range.
Eisner did not end on a high note.
And so
No.
I think he tried to redeem and try to finish off what he couldn't do for Jim in the past, because he really liked Jim and he really wanted to continue what was going on. And so I think this was like, let me do what's right.
Right. And so some of the content that was released, of course you've got still Bear in the Big Blue House. You have the Muppets Wizard of Oz.
I remember that.
You've got
little TV specials. They did like a Christmas one.
Yeah.
Yep. And then they officially released a YouTube channel in 2009 to promote Twitter feed and their official Facebook page.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So follow them or friend them on Facebook.
And then the 2012, they had an interactive game on the Disney cruise ship called The Case of the Stolen Show.
Oh, I heard that was really good too. Like I've seen it, and like
It's like Kim Possible good. Like the little Kim Possible game at Epcot.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Kim Possible thing, but like you travel to different parts of the ship, and you have these interactions with the Muppets on screens. So.
Yep, that's on the Disney Fantasy.
So if you go on that cruise line, do the Muppet game.
And then 2011, they had they released a movie, The Muppets.
I love that movie.
It was a great
I
one.
just watched it. I was talking to Dad about their Father Yodeler and about Jim Henson and usually in our conversations stir like, oh, we'll watch this movie together. And so he put it on, and my daughter must have been really tired, or she was fascinated because she's only like 1.5, and anybody who's got a 1.5-year-old or has children know that kids that age don't have an attention span. She sat right next to me and watched the movie for the most part. She got up at parts, but as soon as they started singing, she stopped what she was doing and she danced. She loved it. And that was the first time I was like, wow. And so I started putting on Muppet Baby stuff on Disney Plus, and she just stops and watches. She'll play, but then as soon as they start playing music, she stops and watches them. And so I'm trying to indoctrinate with the Muppets early on. And like, these are special characters in my childhood. I want you to enjoy them as well.
Yep, so the Muppet movie, according to IMDb, it was a 7.5 out of 10. It's like a fairly decent movie.
Mm-hmm.
Budget was $45 million. And it worldwide, it gained about $165 million in profit.
So it was okay.
It was,
in the eyes of Disney, it's like, oh, you did all right.
It did bigger outside of the U.S.
It won an Emmy. And an Oscar for
it's song,
Man or Muppet.
It's such a good song.
I listen to it.
I sing it all the time. Am I a man or am I a Muppet?
Am I a Muppet?
I'm a Muppet that's a man.
I'm a very manly Muppet. It's very heartfelt, and my wife was telling me that her dad really likes that. Just the conflict within, where if you're struggling or if you're having to conceal something or you're having an identity crisis, it really opens you up to where it's like you can relate. We're like, I don't know what I am or how where's my place in this world? And that was a big theme of that movie. It's like not fitting in and finding the right people to fit in.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I loved the movie. I thought it did good. It had good music in it. I thought it was a great comeback.
I thought so.
I thought it opened the doors like, all right, we're getting the Muppets.
And then
we got a sequel, Muppets Wanted.
Most Wanted.
Most Wanted, yes. Budget, a little bit more, $50 million. Worldwide, $80 million.
Okay. Throw them back in the closet.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Disney's like, we're not making money off this.
There was like one good song in that movie. I'm number one. And you're number 2.
I like the investigation with the police. The police are like interrogating the Muppets.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of a fun song. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah. So it didn't do well, unfortunately, and Disney's like, didn't do well. Put it in the closet.
Well, you also got to keep in mind
production of
what else Disney had. You know, because like, what year did it come out?
It's like 2013 or 14?
2014.
So like we're talking like Disney's working on Star Wars.
You got Star Wars.
You got Marvel going on. Like they knew that these were the money makers, and so the attention went there.
The production assets are there, and you got to think a lot of the people who work for the Muppet Company, were there in like the heydays of the 70s. They're retired.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Frank Oz now, and he was a teenager when he joined Jim. So it's just like these people run their course and they're retired, and so you're losing a lot of the originals.
Yep.
And so big companies, they don't necessarily take care of.
No, they don't.
The originals, and so I can definitely see that. Frank Oz did bring up a point about, he goes, with the Muppets, and it's like Disney converses with them. He goes, they're having writers right for the characters instead of having the the people who are the Muppet performers sharing like what would be good for the story. What is their character? The personality is exuded through the person performing it, and they're totally cutting them out of the writing experience, and that's what made them so successful in the past. Why the Muppets? Because it wasn't the outside writing; it was the people coming up with creativeness. That's what Jim looked for. Those people to continue, because that's what made the Muppets, and that's why they weren't so great on SNL, because you had writers that didn't want to do with it. And what are you doing when you work for the Disney company? You got like, oh, Marvel, Star Wars. And you're like, I'm dealing with the Muppets.
I
Right.
got the Muppets.
You don't even know what the sentiment is. You maybe
Yeah.
have somebody with fake like enthusiasm going, all right, we're doing the Muppets. All right, let's do this, guys. They're huge, they're famous. And then you got that one guy going like, I want to be in Star Wars.
I want to work on Star Wars Land.
There's so many great projects in the company, and you're like, I'm dealing with the closet toy.
Yep.
Right. And so ABC released a television series. What's it? I think it was just
Muppets
called
Now?
Yeah,
No, not Muppets Now. This
It was
is
just
before.
called Muppets.
It was just called
Oh
Muppets.
yeah, this is like the Office rendition of
Yeah.
it.
It was basically an office version of the Muppets, of Miss Piggy.
Piggy's talk show.
Yeah, on a talk show.
That was horrible.
It was not good. It felt forced.
Yeah.
It just, yeah, it was too forced.
I mean, granted, I know some people that enjoyed the show, and to everyone, to each their own. Not to knock on those people that enjoyed
And
it.
there's also a point where like you do get older,
yeah,
and
Yeah.
it's hard to like the same things. Like I'm not gonna like Power Rangers anymore. I'm not in the 3rd grade,
right,
so yeah, if I watch Power Rangers now, it may be like okay,
right.
great.
They released Muppet Babies on Disney Junior. And then Disney Plus last year released Muppets Now, which was a kind of a streaming.
So it's kind of like Vines.
Yes.
Well, the thing is, the
Little,
original
kids.
idea, the Muppets Now was meant to be for the Muppet YouTube channel, but at this time, Disney Plus was starting to come out, and Disney was all like, "Hey, we need content," and so then they came up with a way to combine all these YouTube shorts into individual shows, and they have this fake thing with Skeeter posting the show.
Yeah, he was the
Yes.
glue. And
He was the
Skeeter
glue of
was
it all.
now.
Skeeter's
Skeeter's not
never
glue.
glue. Yeah. So it just, I don't think they're doing a renewal of that. I think that was canceled.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, yeah.
In order to keep the product relevant, you have to keep showing it. Yes, you can keep showing the kids stuff, but you also need to show the new stuff. I did like Muppets Now, like the chef show where the celebrities
that
come
was
in.
great. That was fun.
And you got Swedish Chef getting all mad and trying to show like how to do it. Like that was fun. That was
That was
enjoyed it.
funny Muppets right there.
I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, and so now we're in this kind of stage of what's next for the Muppets. And it's so hard because you're dealing with a new generation of, Gen Z now.
Yeah.
And
how they consume information, and it's
you know,
YouTube.
No, it's TikTok now.
Oh, TikTok. But I mean, the information's like short videos.
Yes, very short, like 30-second clips.
It's hard to get a story across in that short amount of time. I mean, with your kids, like, what is their exposure to the Muppets and how they respond to it?
It varies. So like when I get around to putting on the show every once in a while, they'll sit and watch for a little bit, but they don't have the attention span really. They're not as interested in the Muppets as I would like them to be. But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, maybe in the future, I think my youngest, he's gonna probably be a little bit more open to that sort of entertainment than my oldest is.
yeah.
Um,
And there's always personality differences
Yes.
with that and interest, but I mean, if it's good, it'll stop what you're doing. We're like, oh, this is interesting. Like, we all love the show Bluey, right?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
It just stops what you're doing. You're like, oh, this is fun,
Yep.
And
It's
so,
so simple.
yeah.
But
So I imagine you could, like, with Muppets, with this next generation, if it's done right, it could stop what a kid is doing, going, what's going on here? But we're
Well-
not seeing that.
Yeah.
And I think like Disney just needs to decide what they want to do with the Muppets. Are they gonna just focus their audience as kids, or are they gonna focus adults?
And that was the battle with Jim.
Yep.
Always was. Didn't want to get pigeonholed. He didn't want to be known as the Muppet guy. And that's why he did like Dark Crystal and Labyrinth and just wanted next level. And so it's up to it's Disney's ball now. What do they want to do? They want to make the Muppets just for kids?
And you know, and there is a need, there is a want for the Muppets in the theme parks. They saw that with the Muppet Great Moments in Muppet History that they had at Liberty Square at Disney World. You know, it retained crowds every performance, all the way up until it got canceled because
of COVID.
Well, no, not even COVID. Even before then, they got it because Disney was cutting entertainment budgets, and so the puppeteers.
It's the production to do what they're doing with these. It takes time. You have to build specialized sets, and you know you have to get it just right. It's not like you'd be like, all right, here's the story. Let's get the camera at this angle. They have to get the angles just right, and they have to do multiple takes to get the right expression. I mean, you got to think there's a hand moving in a puppet or a Muppet expressing human emotions or human-like characteristics, and you're trying to convey that, you know, while they're just watching a screen doing this. It's just it requires time, and that time is money.
And I think also there's a lot of Muppets and celebrities because it was successful on the Muppet Show, but it's just like they're just trying to do the same formula, and I don't think it's
honestly, I don't think they're doing the same formula. I think they're doing exactly what I mentioned before. Before it was you go to the celebrity, they would go to the celebrity and say, "What do you want to do?" And they would do that.
Yeah.
Whereas now I feel they've gone in the direction of telling the celebrity.
We dictate what's going on.
Oh, you can tell how fake it is with the celebrity.
Correct. Like, you can tell by the difference between the interactions of the celebrities from the original Muppet Show and from Muppets Now. You just see the interactions and it's like, this is not...
It's like watching a Christmas special, you know, where you have like, oh, look, here's Kermit with this. Oh, hello, you know, Regis, and hello, Kathy. You're just like, so it's just like, oh, this is nothing.
It's not natural. It's not
all
real.
Scripted. And this may be a theme with Disney where they try to control too much, or they're going back to what has worked in the past instead of going, we're going to go to the next level. We're going to do something different. You know, people could say that same thing with the prequels, where it's just like, or not prequels, the next level Star Wars, where you see so many parallels with what was successful in the original trilogy, and they tried to force it into the new ones too much, and that, you know, it didn't go well, or they tweaked it too much with like, let's throw in this social narrative here and with this old story, and they forgot that you're trying to tell a story.
Right.
And, you know, with Marvel, we're getting to a point of saturation with stories where like, seen a lot of backstories, and we discussed this with Black Widow. We're just like, have we seen this story before? Is there anything special about this? And so Disney's, as though they're doing all this great and we're getting all this great content, they also have to do an internal kind of introspective thinking of, what are we doing with these products? Are we just like,
what's the
that
goal
meme
of
of Mickey going to the skinny cow going, I need more money, and squeezing as much as they can out of it? Or are they trying to like, or are we going to go to the next level? Are we going to do something different? Do what Walt has done. Do what Jim Henson did, where let's go to the next level. You know? So we don't know. Disney's done great things, but...
I feel like Disney's doing a very slow approach with the Muppets.
I just think Disney's bitten more than they can chew right now. And because Disney is a very, we'll say it, controlling company, I feel like they haven't given the freedom to the Muppets that they need to endure and to produce good product.
Kind of make them like autonomous, and I think that's what Jim Henson was fighting for. It's like, we want our autonomy, but we want you to be, you know,
we want
the
you
producer.
To pay for it.
We want you to pay for it, and that's the problem with the Muppets is they cost money, and the return lately has not been the greatest.
And it's hard for investors to be like, I'm going to invest more money into this.
And as we go into this period with like COVID and the company who had like the stable theme park money, it doesn't have that right now after they opened up a huge theme park in China, and then like a year later it's just like it's a different world.
Yes.
And so the company has got to adjust itself. And when the company went through the last recession 10 years ago, talking to the workers there is like it was the great rift. Like you didn't know what manager was going to show up because they were just getting fired. They were just firing people left and right because they were just trying to save money. And so you don't know what's going to happen with this entertainment. So we may see a lot less Muppets. We may see more Muppets because they are maybe a cheaper product to get out there.
Well, I mean, they at least rethemed a restaurant at Epcot for the Muppets. So,
Epcot.
yes, Epcot.
So we're in Epcot.
It's at the American Pavilion.
Oh, that's right. I was thinking of Hollywood Studios.
No, not Pizza Rizzo. We don't talk about Pizza Rizzo.
Yeah.
No,
we don't watch rats like on ice skating on butter on the hot.
No. They got the barbecue restaurant at the America Pavilion. The Sam Eagles Cookout.
Oh, I would so eat there. It's way better.
Looks
than
good.
That burger.
Yeah,
garbage they used to serve.
The McDonald's.
It was not even. I would eat McDonald's over that any day.
Yes.
That was
Yeah.
just. bleh.
Yeah, that's where you get your generic hamburger.
Chicken fingers.
So, let's wrap this up with like Peter. Where do you see the company? Well, where do you think the Muppets are going to go from now on?
It's hard to say. Like, I do see, like, the Muppets will not just go away. The Muppets will always be around. Like, the executives know that, like, there is an audience for it. It may not be a very large audience, but there is an audience for it. And so you're going to see a lot of smaller projects that come about. Like, for example, we got a show coming out later this year on Disney Plus, The Muppets and the Haunted Mansion. So, like,
mix two good things.
Right.
Yes.
So, like, we could see, integration with the Muppets in a variety of different ways.
Just don't mess with the actual ride, please. It's one of our future projects.
Yeah,
It's one of our future podcasts.
We're going to talk about the Muppets, integrating them into some Disney attractions. So, that's kind of where I see it. I mean, they're going to be around, but they're not going to be as prevalent as they were in the 70s.
Yeah.
Right.
Go, Jackie.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I don't think we're going to get many movies anymore of the Muppets. I think it's going to be short clips. I was on TikTok, and I was surprised there's no TikTok account for the Muppets other than, like, people self-made some. So I'm like, where's that? That would be a great option.
So you want them to chase the social media trends and go
absolutely.
along with it?
I think the Muppets would do well in a shorter segment. But yeah, I think they'll just do their continual make appearances on TV shows and...
They'll be the novelty thing.
I think so.
So
I agree with both your guys' assessments. I couldn't come up with anything different about how it's going to go in the future. It's just not the same. And I don't foresee it going back to where it was.
Unless there's big management change in Disney and productions.
We need more Muppets.
get a Muppet guy in there.
Oh, great.
So let me ask you all one last question before we close things out. Favorite Muppet? Jackie.
Oh,
What's your
Kermit.
favorite? You like your Kermit
I love
fan.
Kermit.
All right, favorite Muppet.
Rizzo comes to mind.
Rizzo.
Yeah.
Rizzo the rabbit.
Rizzo and like Ralph.
Ralph.
Yeah.
Ralph is fun. I
Yeah.
enjoy Ralph.
He's a subtle character in the background.
Yes.
Fozzie is my least favorite.
Piggy's mine.
I can understand that one. Yeah, it's not.
I'm a Swedish chef guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's good.
He's-
He's probably my number 2.
I like him, and I love Gonzo. I think those are my two favorites. So, let us know what your favorite Muppets are. You can contact us on our social medias, Facebook, on Instagram. You can listen to us on any place where you can listen to podcasts. We have our YouTube channel where we just play the audio. As of now, we're just playing audio for of the podcast recordings.
We're trying to beautify ourselves before we put ourselves out there.
Yeah, we're not quite.
We're still recovering from COVID.
That's right. You can email us at matterhornyodelers@gmail.com. Let's see here. I think I got it all right.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. All right. Until next time. Auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Matterhorn Yodelers. Please remember, before your bobsled comes to a complete stop, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember...
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.